Joining us now, the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas. We really appreciate your being on this morning. We know that you have news on immigration for us. But before we get there, I'd like to ask you, beyond the impeachment trial outside the halls of the Capitol and across America, there is and appears to be a growing existing problem with white supremacy. And is there any effort and concern from the point of view of the Department of Homeland Security of domestic terrorism growing in the U.S.?
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity. There most certainly is. And let me start on the note of that horrible day of January 6th, because I'm an immigrant to this country. And I came here with my parents as a very young child, my parents and my sister, because of the opportunities, the freedoms, and the liberties that democracy provided. And to see one of the pillars of that democracy destroyed was a horrific sight. The rise of domestic terrorism in the United States, the rise of domestic violent extremism is one of the greatest concerns that we have in the Department of Homeland Security, and it is one of our priorities to address it through the provision of information, through our law enforcement efforts, along with state and local first responders and community partnerships. We are going to tackle this challenge.
Will Congress passing a law that makes domestic terrorism a crime help your efforts out?
I think I look forward to working with Congress to considering whatever legislation best equips the United States government in addressing this challenge. We're taking a look at the tools at our disposal currently and assessing with our partners in Congress on a bipartisan way what other tools we need to best tackle this priority challenge of ours. It is urgent.
Mr. Secretary, it's Willie Geist. Good to have you on the show this morning. Do you agree with testimony given last year by FBI Director Christopher Wray that now domestic terror in many ways has superseded foreign terrorism as the greatest threat internally to the United States?
Thank you, Willie, for the opportunity to be on the show. I do agree with Director Wray, but I want to say something, to echo something else that he said, and that is that many of the threats that we face are persistent. Whether one supersedes another at a particular point in time doesn't mean that the remaining challenge is behind us. The threat of terrorism from abroad is a persistent one. The threat of domestic terrorism here, the violent extremism here at home, has emerged as an urgent threat. And that is how I think we look at it across the Homeland Security enterprise.
So, Mr. Secretary, let's talk about immigration and the Remain in Mexico policy put in place and is there under the Trump administration, still there now. How will you be addressing that issue?
So thanks for the opportunity to address this. Let me again, if I may, just set the stage for the efforts that we are announcing today. One of the greatest sources of our pride as a nation is our tradition as a country of refuge. For those seeking safe haven from persecution in their countries of origin. And our source of pride, our asylum system, our refugee system here in the United States was brought to a screeching and inhumane halt during the prior administration. And we are incredibly devoted to rebuilding those programs and restoring our proud traditions and those sources of pride. The Remain in Mexico policy that the Trump administration launched and that President Biden ended is something that we have been addressing around the clock. And I'm very proud of the men and women in the Department of Homeland Security working with international organizations and our counterparts in the government of Mexico to be able to announce today that on February 19th, we will begin to process individuals and consider their asylum claims through a program that we have built in partnership with those organizations and the government of Mexico to allow them to make their claims of asylum in a safe, orderly, and efficient manner. It's going to take time. We launched the program on the 19th, but it's incredibly important for people, for these migrants who indeed have been suffering terribly. It's very important for them to understand that they must wait. They must give us the opportunity to address their claims, to address the sources of their desperation in an orderly and efficient way. A drive to the border in haste will only exacerbate the humanitarian conditions that have been plaguing this program under the Trump administration. So let us do our work. And I can go through the mechanics of the program if you'd like.
Hey, thanks so much for watching our YouTube channel. You can follow up on today's top stories and breaking news, or catch up on your favorite MSNBC shows all in one place. Download the NBC News app today.